So we have the blessing and the honor to have Laura Silva with us here today for the first time at Peak Potentials. Laura Silva!
Thank you. I love you too. We have a lot of information to cover in this short little workshop here. But before I go on, I want to say that I welcome you with great and deep gratitude for allowing me to be here with you today and share with you time-tested, scientifically proven techniques that would allow you to develop your inner power and to allow you to get from where you are today to manifesting true and enduring success and amazing wealth. And the way we're going to do that is by working with your inner power. What is inner power? Inner power is what you get when you cultivate the ability to modify, create, interpret, and discern your living experience, your internal living experience. What in the world is that? It's a loaded statement, isn't it? Because that means that you are able to have more management of all that goes inside yourself. Everything that happens within. And I have certain goals for myself for this particular workshop. And my goals are to deliver to you, as effectively as possible, the tools and techniques, and as many as I can possibly give you in the time I'm given today, that will make a change in your life for the better as of today. Yeah. You bet. You bet. Because you can have it all. Everything you want and better than that. So the whole thing is have it all or? What? What? That's it. Have it all or better. Because it's your birthright. It's there for you to take. And I will show you some of the tools and techniques that will allow you to get there. And that involves you getting to know more about yourself and your hidden potential. Some people say, oh, the Silva method, oh, God, it's been around for such a long time. Yeah, but guess what? It's still making changes in life for the better. People are turning their lives around completely. From negative to positive, from poor to rich, from unhappy to happy. Because people, no matter where they come from throughout the world, still have the same problems. They come up to me and say, oh man, I can't pay my bills. My health is so bad. My husband's leaving. My wife's, leaving with somebody else. The kids don't want to pay attention. And I don't care what culture you come from, what religious background you have, or where you live. Around the world, the problems are the same. And guess what? This method works. It works. So you ready? You think now, what do you want to achieve? If you had all the power inside to make anything happen, what would that be? Think about that. If you could have it all, health and wealth and abundance, happiness, joy, life, love, bliss, time, everything, how would you look? How would you stand? How would you walk and talk? How would you look people in the eye? How would you relate? How would you think, believe, and behave differently? Because you need to make changes in how you think, believe, and behave in order to get different outcomes. You've heard that over and over again. How would you look if you had it all? How would you walk and talk? What would your posture be like? And I want you to create this image of yourself. What would you be wearing? How would your skin look? The little smile on your face and the little sparkle in your eye, you know what I mean? Would that be there too? How would you look? Create an image that is very detailed and clear in your mind and project that onto your mental movie screen. And that mental movie screen is a screen that's out and away from you. And the reason I want you, and some of you might imagine things in here, but most people will imagine things out and away from them. I want you to project that image of you out and away from you about a level about 20 degrees above the horizontal plane of sight, in a very comfortable position right there. I would say between here and in your imagination about 30 feet in front of you, where you can picture yourself very completely from head to toe, and you can then modify the image and interact with that image. And we'll talk more about this as we go through the program, but I first want you to create an image of yourself. So close your eyes right now. Create an image of yourself having everything you can possibly think of. And don't skimp. Picture yourself healthy, with perfect health. We're not talking about just healthy. No, perfect health, perfect weight, great posture, strength, everything. Every single system of your body functioning in a perfectly healthy, rhythmic manner. What are you wearing? What's your posture like? What's your skin tone like? What's your weight like? Are you wearing nice jewelry? Where do you live? What kind of grounded look do you have about yourself that projects success? True success in every meaning of the word true success. What's different about you in that image that you don't have right now? Now, I want you to step into, with your mind, step into that image of that ideal you having it all. And bring your hand to your chest and say, whenever I have a need or desire to think this way, believe this way, behave this way, or feel this way, all I need to do is to put my hand on my chest and it will be so. Whenever I have a need or desire to think this way, believe this way, behave this way, all I need to do is put my hand on my chest and it will be so. Memorize this feeling. Be that person now. Take a deep breath and open your eyes. That will be your strong attractor. And when you become that person, then you make modifications and make that image still better. Because you will be improving and growing and getting better and better and better through time. There's a certain roadmap to success that we can focus on. And I say those are the 4 areas of success. In a nutshell, I'm going to cover a lot of information throughout the short period of time that we're together. And my goal is to give you everything I can during this time, okay? So, yeah, if I forget to click, someone might want to yell out, click, okay? So I can click on the screen here. But I will give you as much information as I can. So we're going to move fast and furious. So sit down in a position where you know you can soak up all that information. Now, some of the arrangement of the slides on your notes may be a little bit different, but it's all in there. And I really do suggest to you that you don't need to take notes. Just listen. Incorporate it. Allow it to be you. Whenever you have a chance, do your best to picture yourself in the situation I'm talking about. Use imagery instead of notes. Make strong, clear pictures of what you want to impress so that you can then experience it more fully and completely. And I also want you to think about everything you have heard during these past couple of days. Amazingly wonderful information. And see how all of that can be placed into this context as well. Because this will be supportive of everything you have heard. It has its place. And I also want you to think this. When you walk out of here, what do you want to walk out with? Is it a resource? Is it an attitude? Is it a belief? A different behavior? All of the above. Exactly. You will walk out of here today with more of all of the above. Okay? A better understanding of you. I also want you to know this. You will hear a lot of information. And some of that information, you'll say, oh, yeah, I can handle that. Yeah, that's wonderful. Great. I'm going to do it now. And some of the other information, you might say, I don't know about that. A little bit too far-fetched for me. Well, do me a favor. Do yourself a favor. Create a mental shelf that says awaiting further information and place it on that mental shelf. One of these days, it may make a lot of sense to you, and you might want to bring it down. And if not, just leave it there for the time being. We're going to focus on 4 areas. The first area of success is to manage your stress effectively. And you're going to see how this is going to be a little bit different than you probably understand at this point in time. One of the things the Silva method does is allows a person to learn to enjoy deep relaxation. And it's a wonderful experience, a very healthy experience. And the one thing we know is that when you are relaxed, you're not stressed. And stress is the number one cause of health problems. 90% of all health challenges are caused by stress. So the one thing you're going to notice for yourself is that you are going to feel a lot healthier as you manage your stress effectively. Now, we're going to experience some mental type exercises throughout this time together. But for now, let's understand some of what is involved when we talk about stress. So the second area is to think about what you want and only that. The third one is to go beyond your limits and beliefs. And the fourth area is to use more of your brain and mind in order to make the most of your life, to solve problems, to be more creative, to have control, to create the life of your own design, to have it all, or you bet. Let's work with that first area. We know that stress is always going to be in our lives. Regardless, we're going to experience stress. And there's a positive type of stress, and there's a negative type of stress. We're not even going to bother with the positive type of stress because that energizes you, that mobilizes you, that excites you. That's what gets me here all happy, just ready to go, dancing away. That's the great part about that positive stress. It's the negative stress that we have to focus on. The negative stress that paralyzes you, that immobilizes you, that keeps you from enjoying life fully and completely. It's that stress that keeps you from enjoying your loved ones, your relationships, from performing, from enjoying everything you possibly could. It holds you back. That's the stress that we're talking about. Bring to mind at this moment some kind of stressful experience you recently had. Getting to the room, fighting for the first seats or whatever it might be. Leaving home to come here this weekend. I bet some of you might have said, you're going to that Millionaire thing again? I know. I've been in the business for over 30 years. I know what it's like. Because you know the goodness behind being here. Others just don't see it yet. Give them time. We'll do a little programming. So yes, there's stress that we experience. So think of a stressful experience that you had very recently. And I also want you to think, how did you react to that stress? What happened? Some of you are thinking, oh, God, yeah, I got all tensed up, or my stomach got all nauseated, or my legs got weak, or I got ready to punch somebody out. Yeah, push them out of my way. What was it? How did you react? Did your heart beat faster? Eyes narrow a little bit? What went on? We all have a certain reaction to stress. And a lot of times people say, I can't help how I react. That's just the way I am. Well, that's not true. That's the way you choose to be. Because your reaction to stress is totally under your control. And your reaction to stress is something that you've learned through time and has been reinforced over and over and over again. It's all your past experiences. And because of those past experiences, you have a certain quality of thought, beliefs, attitudes that are associated to that. And so you react in that way, and you think, that's just the way I am. No, you choose to be that way. You can interrupt that reaction and turn it into a response instead. When you experience stress, you trigger your fight or flight response. Those of you who experience stress, and I know it's everybody in this room, has had to some degree triggered the fight or flight response. That response is a response to perceived danger. It was meant to protect you and to ensure that we survived as a race. But have you noticed, lady, we don't have to run away from danger, or at least not most of us. And we don't have to fight our way to survive any longer. It's quite evident, look around you, we have survived. And yet, we still trigger the fight or flight response day in and day out. For what? I can't find my keys. Oh, the shower came out too cold. I have to run and get that chair right over there, or else I'm not going to be able to see properly. Oh, someone cut in front of me as I was driving down the road. And your heart starts to beat faster, and your stomach gets nauseated, and your muscles get weak or tense. What are you doing to yourself? And does your body merit to have to go through that whole experience over and over and over and over again? How many times do you experience stress every day, day in and day out, where you cause your heart to beat faster, digestion to stop, inner processes to be put on hold, blood cell production to be stopped or slowed down, healing processes to be slowed down, chemistry to be sent out to your body, blood rushing to your arms, legs, back to mobilize you? How many times are you going to do that every day and day in and day out? It's no wonder we suffer from things like insomnia, headaches, peptic ulcers, arthritis, glaucoma, high blood pressure. And for what? Because you can't find your keys? It doesn't merit that. This is where we need to manage stress effectively. And do notice that through time, the fight or flight response has evolved. Instead of fighting, anger has taken its place. And instead of fleeing, fear has taken that place. So now it's evolved to anger and fear. So what makes you angry day in and day out? What are you afraid of? We've got to make sure that we have a good grip on that, because we do not want to be afraid of success, nor do we want to be afraid of failure. We want to manage those emotions. Notice now, it's not a behavior. Fighting and fleeing are behaviors. Behaviors, once if you are constantly triggering the fight or flight response, those behaviors eventually could kill you. But your emotions, fear and anger, 90% of all illnesses are caused by stress, are caused, in other words, by fear and or anger. Does that make any sense to you? What are you going to do about that? I'll give you some ideas. And at the very, very root of fear and anger, you're probably going to find that there's 5 basic emotions: rejection, abandonment, hopelessness, helplessness, and when you have a feeling that things are not in your control. Oh, God, sound familiar? It's like everybody in this room, right? I want it my way. Yeah. Does that resonate with you as well? Sure. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're in a relationship, and your partner calls you up one day and asks, are you going to be home later on today around 5 o'clock or so? And you say, yeah, I'll be home around 5. Like, what's going on? Well, we've got to talk. What are you thinking? Well, yeah, I'm going to be dumped. It's like, I know. I just can feel it. He's going to dump me, or she's going to dump me. She's going to call it off. He probably found somebody else better than me. I'm going to get dumped. If that's what you're thinking, you really have to watch that, because that happens to be a pattern of reaction that you have. And guess what? You're going to find that most people have that pattern. A negative pattern, isn't it? Because what you're thinking is of what you do not want. Thought precedes physical manifestation. First you think it, then you manifest it. Then you think it, then you manifest it. And every single one of you in this room, without leaving anybody out, is a master of thought manifestation. Think about it. How many things have you manifested this morning alone, or today alone? You decided what time to wake up, you did it. You decided what to wear, you did it. What to eat, you did it. You thought about which way you're going to go, what elevator to take, you did it. Where to sit down, you manifested it. You have manifested so many things today. So what's the difference between you manifesting hard-boiled eggs this morning and getting rid of a tumor? Or better yet, making millions? What's the difference that makes the difference? And that's where you start to discern your internal experience and empower yourself. We'll certainly talk more about that. But let's go back to this little story. So suddenly, the thought is, oh, I'm going to get dumped. Okay, let's stop right there. Let's interrupt that pattern. And let's say, okay, if we were to think of thought, because thoughts precede physical manifestation, with the hopes of manifesting something better, then what would the thought be? Now remember, your thoughts need to be thought consciously. Your mental movie screen is always on. And that's the same movie screen that not only you, but your mind and the universe is watching. So what would you think instead to bring you more of what you want? What would be an idea? He's going to marry me! Yay! What else? We're going on vacation! That's good? Huh? A big bonus. A what? An afternoon nap. Oh, man, how many of us use that one, baby? We're going to take a nap. I love naps. Okay, notice, let's stop right there. My blushing. There's a little sparkle in my eye. It's like, so, anyways, let me get my thoughts back. Okay, let's go back to our story here. The thing I want you to focus on really is that no matter what you're doing here, you're still saying, it's something outside of me that's going to make me happy. He's going to ask me to marry him. He's going to present me with a big bonus. Or she's not inviting me to go on a vacation. Why? So you're still saying something out there is going to make me happy, make me fulfill or complete. You have 3 fingers pointing right back at you every time you point out there. It's not about what's out there. It's all about you. So what are you going to do about it? A good place to start is to think of the mental pictures you're creating. Think of the thoughts you're thinking that lead to mental pictures that precede physical manifestation. So instead of thinking, oh, he's going to come and ask me to marry me or whatever, you want to think something different, something higher, bigger, greater, more. It's all about you. You imagine yourself being okay after the conversation. It could mean that you got dumped. So what? You've been dumped before. You made it. You know? And it could be that you get married or you get engaged. But the point is that when you do experience that, you are okay inside. You feel grounded. You feel fine. Let's go back to the story a little bit. When I first said, I want to talk to you about we need to talk, where in your body did you experience that shift? In your chest? Your stomach? I do too. I get my like that right away. But that's my first sign. At that point in time, I say, oh, stop. I'm triggering something here. And what is it that I was triggering at that moment? Fear of what? Exactly. Guess what? When was the first time you were rejected? Do you remember? Your mom? Okay, there you go. It can be way far back. Way far back. How old were you? Were you even born yet? And you were already hearing those thoughts. We don't know. Does it really matter? It doesn't matter. The whole thing to remember, though, is that you're triggering something of your past. Whether it's rejection, whether it's abandonment, hopelessness, helplessness, or when things seem to be out of your control, it's all being triggered. That means it belongs in your past, not here in the present. And you're probably triggering a child you. So what you're doing, you're allowing the little child you to come over and manage the situation, handle the situation. He's going to break up with me. Like, no. And that's why you need to separate yourself from the child you. And now the adult you will say, you know what, let's talk. It's fine. I mean, let me see. I would like for when the conversation is over that I feel good and strong and grounded and I'm healthy and, I'm okay. I'll be fine. And you create that image and you step into that picture of you feeling in control, grounded, secure, confident, fine, as an adult would. And if ever you want to, you can lock that feeling in. I'm going to give you a little technique. It's called a trigger mechanism, and you're familiar with that. You bring your hand to your heart, you bring hands to your chest, you do all kinds of different things. Those are trigger mechanisms. Trigger mechanisms can be anything. It can be visual, auditory, kinesthetic, gustatory, olfactory. It can be anything. One of the most simplest trigger mechanisms that we use in the Silva method is to put your hand in this position. And I'll explain more about why. But for now, it's a hand in this position. You have 5 fingers, and we're going to work with engaging all of your being in any and every situation. In other words, we are multidimensional beings, and I'll get to that some more a little bit later. You're a physical body, mental, spiritual, emotional, and intuitive. So you want to engage all of yourself in that experience. Physically, I'm going to be just fine. I'm going to breathe healthy and rhythmically. My posture is going to be fine. My words are going to come out smoothly and clearly. Mentally, I'll be positive. I'll be empowered by my thoughts. I will think clearly. And as an adult, emotionally, I'm grounded. I know I'm a worthy person regardless if somebody else thinks so or not. They do not dictate who I am. Spiritually, I know higher power is always with me. God's with me. The universe provides. And intuitively, I will know what to say at the right time, in the right way, to be able to get my outcome. So when you step into that image of you, allow this to be a trigger mechanism that you are fully engaged in the experience. And as you step into that you, confident, in control, having it all, then that's exactly what you'll get. So how you apply that is that you then, right before the meeting, you think about it, you prepare yourself, you see the person walking down, put your fingers in this position or your hand in this position, take a deep breath, remember how great it feels to have it all, to be in control, and then you open your eyes and you're ready for the conversation. Now, don't you think that's going to work for you? Yeah. And you'll be handling the situation fully and completely engaged, with all your parts being present. You can always go back to that child you and take care of those situations later in a meditation. And we can talk about that if we have a chance. Okay? So what I want you to do now is think of something that causes stress in your life. You have one? All right. Okay, now stand up. Stand in a very grounded way. Now, I'm going to give you some instructions first, all right, real quick. You're going to, at this point in time, and you can do this sitting or standing. Sometimes it just, feels better to stand up because you feel more empowered. Other times you can do it sitting down because it would be catching too much attention if you were standing. Okay, so one thing is this. You're first going to close your eyes. 85% of external stimulus comes through your eyes. And the only sense that keeps you at a high beta frequency and can interfere with your thinking process is the focused sense of sight. So the moment you close your eyes, your brain frequency can start to slow down into a more relaxed frequency of brain that is more conducive for thinking clearly and creatively. Okay? So it's important to close your eyes. Later on, as you close your eyes and you practice and you establish points of reference along the way, then even your eyes open but with defocused, indirect type vision can allow you to still slow down the brain frequency into alpha, and we'll talk more about that, and get the same benefits, okay? So that you can do it with eyes open but defocused vision. For now, you close your eyes. Take a deep breath to pace yourself, to pace your breathing, deep rhythmic breathing, to calm yourself, to allow your brain frequency to continue to slow down. Take another deep breath and say, relax, I am in control. That's a program that you give to yourself. And if you need to, take a third deep breath and say, relax and get in control. Now think of that stressful experience. Where in your body do you experience that? What is being triggered? Is it helplessness, hopelessness, rejection, abandonment, a feeling of things being out of your control? Recognize what's being triggered. Does it cause you to feel fearful or angry or both? Now separate yourself from that past you that does not have the resources to handle the situation you're thinking about. And now as an adult that you are, imagine yourself handling the situation with all the resources you possess. And you possess all of them. You have access to all the resources. How are you handling the situation differently and better, more resourcefully? Now step into that you, when you get the image just right, the way you want it, step into and become one with that resourceful you. Put your hand in that special position I told you about and say to yourself mentally, you can bring it to your chest if you wish, and say to yourself mentally, whenever I have a need or desire to feel this way, think this way, behave this way, believe this way, all I need to do is put my hand in this position and it will be so. Take a deep breath. Open your eyes. And you've got an anchor to access those resources you need in that special situation. Do it with everything whenever you experience stress, okay? All right, you can sit. Good. So that's a trigger mechanism, and you can utilize it when you get into the situation. Just put your hands together. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, and you can if you want to. But if it's more appropriate for you just to walk around like this, then just do that. I use this trigger mechanism all the time because it engages me fully and completely in everything I do. Okay? Another area of success that we want to work with, is to think of what you want and only that. Now, what I'm talking about here is not necessarily positive thinking, although it is positive. It's more than that. It's conscious thinking. If there's nothing you take out of this seminar but to change your habit of thinking from a negative to a positive, from an unresourceful to a resourceful, from one that lacks power to one that empowers you, to one that is unconscious to one that is conscious, then I've done my job. So think about what you want and only that. Too often I have people say, Laura, I don't want to be miserable. I don't want to be sick. I don't want to be broke. I don't want my marriage to fall apart. You see how positive I am? That's not the case. Don't tell me what you don't want. Tell me what you want instead. I want to be healthy. I want to be happy. I want to have supportive and loving relationship with my spouse, my partner. I want to live life with abundance, massive abundance. That's what I want. Well, how healthy do you want to be? I want to feel this way and look this way and stand this way and have this energy. And as you say it and you project it onto your mental screen, guess what movie the universe is watching? And the universe will say, wow, you should have told me that a long time ago. We could have done that a long time ago. So think of what you want and only that. I learned a real good lesson from my kids when they were little. They'd run out the door and slam the door behind them. And I'd always say, don't slam the door. And what would happen? Slam the door again. And every time I said it, they still did it again. Until one day I thought, duh. And I changed the wording around to say, close the door gently. Well, guess what happened? They'd run to the door, stop, close the door, and run out again. And it happened every single time. Have you noticed when you tell people, oh, babe, when you're going to the store, great, don't forget the milk. Yeah, I guess come back home with everything but the milk. It's like, I told you not to forget it. It's like, what is the brain and body and mind hearing? Forget the milk. Close the door, slam the door. So you too need to remember to speak in a way that is going to attract more of what you want into your living experience congruently and consistently. There is no room for anything but that. And I'm not one to say, if you say, oh, it gives me a headache, that you'll get a headache. But guess what? People who say it gives me a headache get headaches a lot. I worked with a transplant unit at a hospital in Austin, Texas called Seton. And it's a heart transplant unit. And it was uncanny how many of those people admitted to the fact that they would say, it breaks my heart. Makes my heart skip a beat. It tears my heart apart. And again, let's say it doesn't always happen, but why would you want to take a chance anyway? Why would you want to fall into a negative pattern of thinking that's not going to do anything for you, that's not going to attract any good into your life? I want to have a healthy and strong, vibrant, energetic heart. That's what I want. So say what you want instead. And it's very easy to do. I've heard Harv do it. I've heard many others presenting also say the same thing. You cancel the thought. But you first need to recognize that you have the negative thought. Because unless you recognize this, how are you going to become aware of it? So one of the goals you have here during the time you're going to be together is to catch each other when you hear someone say something negatively. Say, and everybody give each other, turn to your partner and say, you have my permission. Turn behind and say, you have my permission. Tell everybody around you, you have my permission to stop me. Okay? No excuses. No excuses. So now what you're going to do during the rest of the time together is if you hear anybody say anything in a negative way, you're going to say, cancel, cancel. Okay? Cancel, cancel. Or you can say, delete, delete. Okay? Whichever one you like better. The whole idea is you bring it to the consciousness, you interrupt that negative pattern of thinking, you force the person to substitute it with something more positive. If you hear someone say, I am so forgetful, cancel, cancel. And what do you replace it with a positive? It slipped my mind, but it'll come back to me better. My memory gets better and better every day in every way. Okay? If you say, I'm so stupid, what do you say? You don't have to say that, Just cancel, cancel. Okay, I'm so stupid. And replace it with something better. All of that would work, okay? Yes. So again, recognition, cancel it out, interrupt the pattern of negative thinking so that you can create a positive pattern of thinking, and substitution. All right? Emile Coué, who was a French pharmacist at the turn of the century, you probably heard about him, would be approached by some of his clients and some patients as well, and he would say, you know what, just don't even ponder on the negative. Don't ponder on your illness. Just say to yourself, every day in every way, I'm getting better, better, and better. And guess what? They found by simply saying every day in every way, I'm getting better and better, they were. So you may want to adopt that. Every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. So if I ask you, how's it going? You can say, you bet, better and better. And the main thing is, don't just say it. Picture yourself getting better and better. Picture it. Picture your mental movie screen is walking right in front of you everywhere you go. It's right there. It's not going to go anywhere. It's right there for you to work with every single time. Every day and every way, I'm getting better, better, better. And if you're having a health challenge, a financial challenge, a relationship problem, you picture that getting better and better. So it's an ongoing program. Programming means to make alterations from within so they can start managing in a really simple way. It's working with the software and the hardware of your mind with a brain, a sort of biological computer that is highly programmable. And you're going to learn how to go into the frequency of brain that is going to make it even better than that. Yeah, okay? So every time you say better and better, I often hear people say when they're asked, how are you doing? He goes, oh man, my back's been out for about a week, and my feet also been hurt, and I feel I don't want to say it, but I feel really rotten. My husband's all upset with me. The kids don't pay attention. It's like, excuse me for asking. Like, whoa, you know? But the bad thing is, why would you want anybody to know that about you and send back negative energy to you? You talked about, you heard John talking about everything is a frequency, and we influence each other at all levels and in many ways. Why would you want to have other people thinking negatively about you? They're not your doctor. They're not your psychologist, psychiatrist. They're not your therapist, your marriage counselor. They're not your banker. Why would you tell them all of your problems? And then the worst thing is, they run into someone who also knows you, and they'll ask, have you seen so-and-so lately? Oh, man, you don't want to get close to that person. I think they broke their back. The husband's already divorcing that person. The kids ran away. Does the story get any better? No, it always gets worse. Energy that's taking a negative path continues to evolve in a negative direction, getting momentum. Stop it. Interrupt that, and you only say better and better. Whether you're lying through your teeth, you say, hey, everything's fabulous. It's getting better all the time. They go, really? Wow. Yeah, super. Everything's so great in my life. God, that's great to hear. That's wonderful. You actually look pretty good. I'm really impressed. You haven't looked this good in a long time. And by the time you get done hearing how great you are and look, you're going to feel better. And you know what? That person will tell the next, and that person will tell the next, and the next, and the next. And now you have a bunch of people thinking positive, energizing thoughts about you that can only help you get more of what you want. Yeah. So every day in every way I am getting, you bet you are. And now watch it happen. Another area that we want to focus on is to go beyond your limits and beliefs. This you have heard more than anything else from the speakers, from everything you've read. This is the one area that you will find will change your life completely if you change your beliefs. You've got to change the beliefs that do not work for you. So what is lacking in your life? Sometimes people, again, will say, you know, I would be having a great relationship, but all the good guys are taken. Well, you know what? If you believe that, it's true for you. I figure in a world of 6 billion or plus, it's got to be a few thousand of them. I just happen to get a really good one. So if you believe that it's going to be true for you, yeah, but you know, if I have a better job, but all the jobs are taken, the economy's bad, we're going into a recession, it goes on and on and on. Well, you know what? For you, that's true. Because I know people who just got jobs and really great jobs. And they're making more money now than ever before. Yeah, but with my headache, it's different. Headache's a headache. Unless but they're already ruled out it's not a tumor, guess what? Your headache is not any different than anybody else's. It is stress related. I don't care how awful it is stress related. Some form or another, there's a stressor that is entering your system, your being, your thinking, your experience, whatever that's causing or leading to that. And it is also a learned behavior. When was the first time you learned how to create a headache? When you didn't want to go to school because you were going to take a test you were prepared for? And your mom said, oh, poor baby, stay home. It worked. And it worked the second time, or the third time, or the fourth time, and then you couldn't tell the difference anymore. Now it's like, my headache is different. No, it's not. It's not a cut in your arm. It's not a broken bone. It's just a headache, for heaven's sakes. Get rid of it. No one in this room should experience headaches. Right. Thank you very much. No, get rid of them. You will not experience headaches. We refuse to experience headaches, and we'll talk more about that if we can, okay? I'm hurrying. All right. All right. So again, when you're working with your beliefs, it's what you believe that is going to dictate your living experience. And if you want to know what it is that you believe you deserve, just look at how you're living. Do you like it? If you do, great. But if you don't like it, then you've got to have to change your beliefs in order to have a different living experience. And again, people will say, yeah, but you don't know my past. You don't know how I grew up. I was abused. I was born the wrong side of the tracks. I was, had a rough time growing up. My parents were alcoholics. And they go ahead and what are they doing? Pointing that finger over and over and over again. It's pointing right back at you. 3 fingers. It's your situation alone. What are you going to do about it? Because if you're not going to do anything about it, then zip it up. You lose your right to complain. You bet. Do something about it or zip it up. That's it. Everybody has a tragic story. Have you noticed? I have one. You have one too. So that doesn't play a role in any of the situation anymore. You're an adult being. Handle yourself like an adult and take care of your situations and do something about it. And that's that. No other options are available to you. Okay? And the other area for success is to use more of your brain and mind. And this is really amazingly powerful. And this is really a roadmap to success. Your brain operates emits electrical impulses that fall into cycles per second or a frequency. When your brain frequency is operating at a fast pace that's called beta. It's between 14 and 21 cycles of brainwave activity, electrical emissions of your brain. When they fall into that fast pace, we call that beta brain frequency. When you are able, and everybody does this every day of their lives, when they go to sleep, everybody slows down the brain frequency to the whole brain frequency spectrum and repeats it over and over and over again. Your body, your brain, and your mind already know how to do this, but you do it unconsciously. What you're going to learn is how to do it consciously instead. Okay? So when you slow down your brain frequency, like when you're going into sleep or when you are meditating, you are able to slow down your brain frequency into the alpha frequency, and that is between 7 and 14 cycles per second. This is what made my father famous. He took 24 years of researching brain and mind and discovered that a person did not have to go so deep within a meditation into the slower theta frequencies between 4 and 7 cycles per second. They were actually able to stop. He found a method that would allow a person to stop at alpha and gain greater benefits from alpha, because it is from alpha that you can have an active mind. When a person meditates and goes into theta frequencies, it's a wonderful experience. It's a very healing experience. And it's a very passive experience. And it could take time. It could take 20, 30, 40 minutes, more, whatever. And that's where people get the misconception of meditation. I don't have time to meditate. It takes too long. Well, if you're talking about passive meditation, you may be right. And there's wonderful benefits with passive meditation. But what we teach people to do is not only enjoy passive meditation, but also enjoy dynamic meditation. And 5 minutes of meditation time at alpha is good. You can have 5 minutes, for heaven's sakes. When you wake up in the morning, stay in bed for 5 minutes. Before you go into sleep, you go into your meditative state, make some mental images, program for some outcomes and goals, think positive thoughts. You can do that 5 minutes before you go to sleep. Everybody has that ability, without exception, without excuses. 10 minutes is better, and 15 minutes is even better. If you have a very slight health challenge like headaches or insomnia, then 5 minutes of practice would be good on a daily basis. If you have more serious problems like high blood pressure, 10 minutes of practice would be good on a daily basis. And if you have very serious problems, I would say 15 minutes of practice 3 times a day. And I'm talking about cancer, leukemia, lymphatic problems, immune deficiency type problems, heart problems, stroke, things like that. That would give you tremendous benefits. Now, you can't tell me you don't have 5 minutes in a day. You're cheating yourself if you don't do that. We'll talk more about that, though. And the slowest brain frequency is that of delta, and that's anywhere above 0, because you pass that 0 mark and you're out, okay? And 4 cycles per second. When we're operating with our beta brainwave frequencies, you are operating in the outer conscious level and in the physical dimension, in the physical world. This is where you gather information by what you see, hear, taste, touch, and smell. And it is the focus sense of sight that is operated by the beta brain frequencies, okay? You cannot be at alpha and have focused eyesight at the same time. Okay, you need to defocus your vision in order to go into internalize your experience. Because if you're focusing on something on the outside, you're externalizing your experience. All right, so beta frequencies are associated to the outer conscious level, to action, the physical world. Once you start to slow down your brain frequency, and that is so easy to do, all it takes is for you to get into a somewhat comfortable position, close your eyes to eliminate the external stimulus, take a deep breath, and give yourself programs or commands or or things to do, for example, okay? That's all you've got to do. And breathe rhythmically and deeply. It's very easy to get into alpha. It doesn't take much time at all. You do it like this. But once you do enter alpha, now you're in the world of thought. You are now functioning in a dimension where there is no time or space. Have you noticed that? Sometimes in the morning when you wake up and you say, oh, I got like another hour to go to sleep, and you go back to sleep and you wake up feeling rested and energized and feeling, oh, that hour was great. And you look at the clock and 5 minutes pass. Yeah. Or the opposite. You say, oh, 5 more minutes, and you open it. An hour went by. Yeah? It's like a time distortion. There's no time or space here. And the good thing is that when you are functioning in this dimension, you are able to use your mind in a special manner and your mind faculties in a special manner. Because with your mind, your intelligence can go anywhere it wants to. Past, present, future. There's no barriers whatsoever. Into the microcosm, into the macrocosm. Nothing is going to hold you back. And you can do it like this. You can't do that with your physical senses. Your physical senses are so highly restricting that you can't do that. I can only walk this far. It takes me this much time. I can only reach out as far as I can touch. That's it. I can only hear a certain distance. I can only taste what comes into my mouth. I can only smell what's in my environment. But with my mind senses, it's so different. I can, at this moment, be walking on the moon, pick up a handful of moon dust, and feel it in my hands. And you know what? What I experience is probably right. I can go inside, on the other side of that curtain, experience what's on the other side. And I'm probably right. I can go inside your body and say, you know what? There might be a challenge here or not. And I'm probably right. Because there's nothing to stop me from where my mental senses can go. I can go into my past, into my childhood, and neutralize, correct, and heal a traumatic experience. And talk to that child me and say, baby, you were only doing the best you knew how. It's not your fault. Let me help you understand what happened. I love you so much because of what you went through. I am who I am today. And embrace that child you and love that child you and give that child you the resources because you heal it back there and it goes all throughout the rest of your life. You can go into the future and ask your future self, what do I do? And always, when you picture a future you, picture someone who's just fabulous, better than you are today. And you ask that future you, how do I become you? What do I need to do to become you? And when you do, you ask the next future you, how do I become you? And you keep going and going. Because you can project yourself into the future. There's nothing to stop you. Nothing to hold you. In this dimension of mind, you can heal yourself, energize yourself, strengthen your immune system. Think of creative solutions to problems. If in the beta outer world, you can think of 1 or 2 solutions to a problem, in the alpha inner world, the subjective world, the intangible, invisible, the spiritual dimension. Oh, I said it. Spiritual. That's what it is. If you can't see, hear, taste it, or smell it, and I'm not talking about, ooh, no, I'm just talking about it's just a spiritual dimension. That's what I'm talking about. In this dimension, you can think of 5 solutions. 10 solutions. Now, it's up to you. Which one do I think I want to try first? And allow your intuition to guide you. You know what? I'm going to do this one. Because this one feels right. And when you apply it, solves the problem. And if you don't, now you still have this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. You're going to find a solution to every single problem you have. Welcome your problems. There's nothing wrong with problems. Problems are your best vehicle for growth. Just don't repeat them. But it's your best vehicle for growth. Because in that way you say, what do I do? How do I solve this? You gain more knowledge, more experience, more talents, more skills. And you know how not to create it again. You learn from that. So when there is a problem, you convert it into a project, into a challenge, and you embrace it. And you say, thank you, another wonderful way for me to get even better and better. You bet. So problems are your friends. Funny way of saying it, but that's true. Okay? So we want to be able to work with both dimensions, the outer dimension and the inner dimension, and then be able to go from one to the other as we need to. And live in both worlds effectively as you go. And that's an easy thing to do. Remember that. It's an easy thing to do. So meditation doesn't take a long time. And for those people who say, I don't have time to meditate, it takes too long. Oh, but you have time to spend weeks on end in the hospital because of a stroke? I don't know. Stroke, health. Stroke, health. It's not a really hard thing to choose, is it? And really, the choice is yours. Choice is yours. Everything that is out there, all information, is within reach for you. If you still are experiencing problems, then you haven't gone out to seek for the information, because if you seek, you will find. In this context, the Silva method, when we think about mind, we talk about mind being a focusing faculty of human intelligence. So that human intelligence can go into past, present, future, microcosms, macrocosms. It is through mind that human intelligence, that part of you that knows everything, that has access to all information, it is through mind that human intelligence is able to move around, get information, bring it back, and apply it for problem solving. What's the good of information if you can't apply it for problem solving, if you can't improve your life or the life of somebody else? That's what mind is. And mind has sub-faculties. See, hear, taste, touch, and smell without the barriers, as I mentioned, of time or space. So with mind, intelligence can go anywhere. It's like your ability to see far and near. Far and near. That focusing faculty is what mind is to human intelligence. And when we talk about ESP in the Silva method, we don't talk about extrasensory perception. Come on. How many of you have had an intuitive experience? It's not extra. And I would venture to say every single one of you in here has had an intuitive experience. You just didn't want to admit it. Really. So everybody's intuitive. And some of us build it, and some of us don't. Intuition is an ability that everybody has, that you can cultivate. It's like reading. Because you weren't born reading doesn't mean that you can't develop your reading skills. You learned how to read, and the more you read, the better you got at it. Same thing here. But the important thing to note is when you're working with your intuition is that you're going to be able to establish points of reference that are going to allow you to discern the difference that makes the difference. Okay, we'll talk more about that. All right, so working with your intuitive part is valuable in that you will be able to make right choices and decisions more times than not. And sometimes I hear people say, I don't know what to do. Well, you would if you had your intuition more developed, you would know what to do. You would know by a gut feeling, by a sensation, by a thought that flashed in your mind, because you would attract into your living experience, you would know. Now, we're multidimensional beings. We have to remember that. And as you heard John say earlier, each one of our parts has certain requirements that keeps it, maintains it strong and healthy. Your physical part needs to have, as he mentioned, nutrition, oxygen, water, exercise, sun, air, hygiene, contact with others, because if you don't have contact with others, you'll die. What's the worst punishment a prisoner gets in jail when they've misbehaved? Solitary confinement. So we need to have contact. We need to have touch from another human being or other human beings. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what the body needs to stay strong and healthy, does it? So why aren't you doing it? What's holding you back from eating it more appropriately and healthy? What's holding you back from exercising 10 minutes a day? What's holding you back? Because if you did all those things that your body needs to stay strong and healthy, guess what? Your chances of being healthy are better. And maintain that perfect ideal weight and size is better. What does the mind need? The mind needs to have some kind of stimulation. And stimulation comes in many forms. Education. I mean, you're here educating yourself on an ongoing basis. You spend time and money to gain more skills and talents, to educate yourselves. You go out and you buy books and CDs and tapes and DVDs to do the same thing. And you stimulate your mind over and over again, and the mind needs that. And the problems that we talked, solving problems is a great way. Having challenges, going through your challenges is a great way to stimulate the mind. And working with imagery, because we need to exercise that mental muscle. This empowers yourself. This is a great way to be empowered is by doing that. Exercise your mental muscle. And we do it through imagery, but imagery has two facets. One facet is visualization, and this is important to notice. And the other one is imagination. When you visualize something, you are visualizing something that has already experienced, something that you have already experienced, that's already impressed in your brain cells. That's visualization. Anytime you recall an experience of any kind, you are visualizing. Imagination is creating something for the first time. The moment you have already created it and you recall it, then that too is visualization. You get my drift? Okay? And it's important to understand the differences between visualization and imagination, because when it comes to problem solving, and I'm going to share a technique with you later on. We'll close up with that technique. When it comes to problem solving, you must first recognize you have the problem by visualizing the problem in your mind on your mental movie screen, and then imagine the outcome that you desire. And then once you imagine the problem, once you imagine the solution, you never go back to the problem ever. Okay, so we'll talk more about that, but those are two faculties of genius and creativity. And to exercise your mind by utilizing more visualization, imagination, mental gymnastics is going to keep that mental muscle strong and healthy. And we need a strong and healthy mental muscle to fulfill all of our dreams for the rest of our lives. The spiritual part of you is that part of you that has a connection with all else that is. Now notice it here, we'll talk more about this, but the spiritual part, meaning that part of you that has a connection with everything else, that is there to have a connection with higher power, that is out to serve humanity better, extends the helping hand. And the best way for you to connect with that spiritual part of you is through what? Prayer. Was that hard to figure out? The best way to connect with your mental part is through what? Meditation. Simple. But we need to abide by those things that keep our spiritual part strong and healthy. Things that inspire us, like music, art, nature. Like extending ourselves to others. Like feeling our oneness with everything else that is. By having a connection with higher power, God, source, universe. It's that important. And the emotional part of you needs to have support. Needs to be true to the emotions, needs to be able to express the emotions, needs to forgive and be forgiven, needs to experience love and be loved. That emotional part of you needs to have all those things and more, of course. I'm talking a very nutshell kind of thing in order to maintain its health, to stay strong and healthy. And the intuitive part of you needs to quiet down with intention, purposely and consciously, to be able to sense inside and be able to sense whatever it needs in order to solve problems effectively, to know how to make right choices and decisions, to say the right thing at the right time. Now, let me ask you this question. You have physical part. It's obvious we have it, right? You have a mental part. Do you see the distinction between one part of you and the other? Do you recognize that although they're connected and they're one at some level, they are distinct? You have the spiritual part. Is that different than the mental part? Yeah. And then you have your emotional part. Is that different than the other three? Yeah. And you have the intuitive part. Also different. So notice here that of those 5 parts, 4/5 of who you are is intangible and invisible. In other words, it is spiritual. Or is it? Let's take the body for now. Your body is something that you are so sure about. Your physical body, because the other bodies are intangible, invisible, can't see, hear, taste, touch, or smell them. So they are spiritual. But when it comes to your body, although you can see this in the mirror, you can feel it, you know it's there, what is your body made up of? Your body is made up of systems. And your systems are made up of organs. And your organs are made up of cells or tissues. Tissues, cells. And cells are made up of what? Molecules. And molecules? Atoms. Can you see atoms still? Well, if you have an electron microscope, maybe. And atoms are made up of what? Subatomic particles. Can you see, hear, taste, touch, or smell subatomic particles? Does that make it spiritual? Intangible, invisible? And what comprises subatomic particles? Energy. And where does that energy come? Well, from stuff. Stuff of the universe, from where all things come. So what you're telling me then is at the very core of who you are as a physical being, you are spiritual. It's no wonder that Dr. Dyer says, you're not here as a human being having a spiritual experience. It's the other way around. You're a spiritual being having the human experience. And the quality of that human experience depends only on you. What are you going to do about it? Have you thought about it? What are you going to do about it? The interesting thing is that when you come to doing this, there's one thing that ties in your physical part, your mental part, your emotional part, your spiritual part, and your intuitive part, and that is to go within. Going within is necessary for success if you want to have it all or better. Yeah. Because that's the way you're going to engage all of your parts. We call it rest for the physical body. We call it meditation. We call it prayer. We call it internalization. We call it going within. I don't care what you call it. The process is the same. You're going to be able to go within, tap that inner potential that you have, and be able to solve so many more problems in a totally different way, thinking outside the box. And not only will you do that, you are going to be attracting what you want into your living experience when you do this. Let me show you a little example of how you can solve problems with the subjective energy and in a subjective way. There was a man, many times the story goes, a man who was elderly and he ended up dying, and he had 11 cows. Now, he had left in his will that the cows were going to be divided amongst his 3 sons. The first son was going to get 1/2 of the cows. The second son was going to get 1/4 of the cows. And the third son was going to get 1/6 of the cows. The only thing is that he said they could not slaughter a single cow. That was a very strong stipulation in his will. But how could that be? You have 11 cows. That meant the first son was going to get 5.25 cows. The second son was going to get 2 3/4 cows. And the third son was going to get 1 in 5, 6. But they couldn't slaughter a cow. So what to do? Well, they go to a wise man, and they ask the wise man, how do we solve this problem? And the wise man said, simple. You just go into the spiritual dimension, and you get an imaginary cow. And now you bring it, and now you have 12. And